Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever been offered an opportunity that felt almost too good to be true? Not because you didn't deserve it, but because everything happened a little too perfectly. That's exactly how this book begins. And honestly, I don't know what I would have done. Because if someone offered me the chance I'd been waiting for my whole life, I think I would have said yes too. Even if something inside me whispered, maybe don't. That's what pulled me into the unknown. Not the mystery, not the haunted island, the decision.
Coffee ready? Good, because I need to talk.
We meet Marin, an actress who spent years chasing one big break. Then suddenly, it arrives. A famous director. A major film. The kind of phone call that changes your life. The only catch? She has to spend the next few days on a remote island, preparing for a movie inspired by a real unsolved mystery. Now, if this were me, I'd probably be too excited to ask many questions. And that's what I liked. Marin doesn't feel like a horror movie character. She feels like a normal person trying not to lose the opportunity she's worked so hard for. That made everything feel believable. Before anything frightening even happens, this book quietly asks a question I couldn't stop thinking about. How much are we willing to ignore when our biggest dream is finally within reach? And from that moment, I knew this wasn't just going to be a story about an island. It was going to be a story about choices, and I was ready to follow Marin wherever those choices led. One thing this book does really well is make the setting feel alive. Before anyone says anything suspicious, before the mystery really begins, the island is already making you uncomfortable. And I don't mean in an obvious way. It's quieter than that. The boat ride, the silence, the feeling that the island is just watching. I kept waiting for something terrible to happen. Not because the book told me to, because the atmosphere did. Then we learn why this place matters. It's not just another filming location. It's New Avalon, an island where years earlier, a group of women disappeared without a trace while trying to contact the dead during seances. The only clues left behind became part of a local legend. And now, Marin is about to spend days living in that very place. Now, imagine hearing that after you've already stepped onto the island. That was the moment I stopped thinking, this sounds like a fun mystery, and started thinking, I'd probably want the next boat home. But Marin doesn't have that choice. She's finally living the dream she's chased for years. Walking away now would mean losing everything she worked for. That's what makes this setup so interesting. The danger isn't just the island. It's the fact that sometimes our biggest dreams make it much harder to listen to our instincts. And honestly, that's a much scarier place to start a story than any ghost. You know what surprised me? This book didn't make me suspicious of the island first. It made me suspicious of people. And I think that's much more interesting. Marin is walking into a world she's always wanted to be part of. A famous director, a respected producer, a cast she's admired from a distance. Everything should feel exciting. Instead, it feels like everyone knows something she doesn't. Not in an obvious way. No one is acting like a villain. That's what I liked. The conversations feel normal, almost too normal. Then someone says one small thing, or avoids one simple question, and you catch yourself thinking, wait, why did that feel strange? I really enjoy books that do that. They don't force you to distrust people, they quietly invite you to. Marin was probably my favorite part of these early chapters. She isn't fearless. She isn't trying to be the smartest person in the room. She's just trying to prove she belongs. I think that's something a lot of us understand. Whether it's a new job, a new opportunity, or simply walking into a room where everyone seems more experienced than you. That feeling felt incredibly real. And because I understood Marin, I started worrying for her. Not because I knew what was coming, because she was chasing the same dream that might also become her biggest mistake. By this point, I wasn't trying to solve the mystery anymore. I just wanted Marin to be okay. And for me, that's exactly when a thriller starts working. The more I read, the more I realized this book wasn't asking me, "Do you believe in ghosts?" It was asking something much harder. How badly do you want your dream? Because that's where Marin is. She's finally standing in front of the door she's been trying to open for years. Everything she's worked for is on the other side. So what do you do when that same door also makes you uncomfortable? That question stayed with me. I think all of us have had moments where something looked perfect, but didn't feel perfect. A job, a decision, a relationship, an opportunity. Sometimes we ignore that feeling because we're afraid the chance won't come again. I understood why Marion stayed. Honestly, I probably would have stayed too. And that's what made this story work for me. It never felt like I was watching someone make a bad decision. It felt like I was watching someone make a very human one. I think that's an important difference. Because fear doesn't always arrive looking dangerous. Sometimes it arrives looking exactly like the thing you've always wanted. And maybe that's the most unsettling idea this book gave me. Not that something unknown could be waiting on the island, but that we sometimes walk toward the unknown, completely by choice. So, would I recommend The Unknown? Absolutely. But I'd recommend it to the right reader. If you enjoy stories that reveal everything in the first few chapters, this probably isn't your book. This one likes to earn your trust, and then quietly question it. I enjoyed that. Not because I was desperate for answers, because I genuinely wanted to see where the story would take me. And that's always a good sign. Now, before we close the book, here's the bookmark I'm keeping. Sometimes the hardest choices don't look dangerous. They look like opportunities. That's what stayed with me. Not because the book tells you that's the lesson, because somewhere along the way, I realized I'd probably make the same choice Marin did. And that thought is a little uncomfortable. If a story can make me question my own decisions instead of just its characters' decisions, I think it's doing something right. So if you decide to pick up The Unknown, don't rush it. Let the questions build. Let the uncertainty do its job. And when you're done, come back and tell me one thing. At what point did you realize, okay, something is definitely not right here? No spoilers, just the moment. I'm genuinely curious if yours was the same as mine. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. I'll see you in the next BookBuddy. Until then, keep a bookmark close and happy reading.